Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. So Assassin's Creed Valhalla is officially announced for holiday 2020, so it's coming at the end of the year. This game has apparently been in production for 2 years, so this is really exciting. The Easter egg into the Division 2, which everyone started speculating was going to be about the next Assassin's Creed game, has turned out to be true. It's going to be a Viking-themed game. Now, the trailer that we got does not show off too much. It's a cinematic trailer. I assume that this is akin to most of the cinematic trailers that we've gotten from Ubisoft in the past, where it kind of gives a snippet on what characters we may see. Obviously, that'll be playing as B-roll for you guys to watch while we go over something else that a lot of people aren't talking about that I came across thanks to some people on Discord. So Eurogamer released an article about what exactly is going to be in Assassin's Creed Valhalla as confirmed by Ubisoft themselves. So I want to get into that because there are some changes to the formula yet again, but these look to be good changes. So I'm going to just touch on some points. I'm not going to read the article too in depth, but I will link the article in the description down below in case you guys want to go read it for yourselves. So let's dive in. So the first thing is, to nobody's surprise, you will be able to play as a male or female protagonist. I don't know how to pronounce the protagonist's name. It's either Ivor or Ivor. Somebody who knows how to speak Norse or Scandinavian can obviously correct me in the comments. But the main character will be customizable as a man or a woman, like the previous title, Odyssey. However, they said that is not going to be the only customization option you will get to choose. You will be able to change your tattoos. You will be able to have a different hairstyle. You will be able to adjust your beard. Ubisoft really wants you to create this character as your own and let you have your own Viking hero to play as throughout the story. So that's really cool. They asked, Eurogamer asked Ubisoft, why hadn't we seen the female version of Ivor in the trailer? And they said, like Odyssey, will see her as more promotional stuff comes out. So that's really neat. Another thing they touched on is that your gear will be customizable and your Viking Longboat. So yes, naval traversal has returned in the form of the Viking Longboat. However, and this is something that we'll get to in a second, it's not going to be big wide open seas like Odyssey, like Origins, at least from what they are saying to us. They have dialed back the naval combat, so there's no sitting and firing cannons out of their boats. This was a straight quote from the article, because that's not the way Vikings did things. However, your longboat, they say, will be the fastest means to travel through the countryside, along the waterways, which were essentially the roads for that time period, and they're your fastest way to escape after assaulting a fort. And they said, quote, "Any military location you encounter on the rivers of England is fully raidable. We want you to be playing the ultimate Viking fantasy, so you will get to have your Viking buddies go with you on a long ship. Sometimes you'll get resources to take back and upgrade your settlement, or maybe additional firepower to help take down higher level bandits in the region." So two things I'm going to touch on real quick is bandits are back, as they have been in the previous two titles, and you will have an upgradable settlement. And we'll touch on that in a second, but one thing I forgot to mention about the character customization is you will be able to dual wield weapons like you could in previous games, and you will also be able to have a shield like in Origins, because Ubisoft listened to the player base, because players were a little bummed that that wasn't an option in Odyssey. So they're bringing shields back, everybody. So get ready to block parry like nobody's business. So let's jump back and talk about your settlement, because this is something that we haven't seen since Assassin's Creed 3. What it is essentially, instead of having a huge open world where, you defog the map, you go from point A to point B, moving from place to place, not really having a reason to go back. They're having a central hub, so to speak, on where everything stems out of. The quote from the Eurogamer article says, quote, "So instead of embarking on a never-ending journey to defog all of the map, Valhalla's narrative is being built around your settlement and through it." And this is a quote from Ubisoft now. Quote, "It's your own Viking village you'll see prosper and grow, and which your clanmates will live in. It's at the center of our quests and the center of the decisions you make. We want players to see the consequences of their actions." End quote. So, apparently, this is kind of where you stem out from, and you can build up your settlement. They're saying you'll be able to have weddings that forge alliances and relationships between clans. You'll see the effects of different alliances and the consequences of, quote, harsh choices you have to face. End quote. Also, if you decide to romance anybody, so that's making a return, you will see it play out in your settlement. So there's going to be decision making, and the decisions you make are going to affect in some way your settlement. It could be it seems like it's going to be a positive or a negative thing. So that's really interesting. We haven't really had anything to kind of upgrade. They reference in the article that they wanted to give players a proper home, and aside from the boats from Rogue and Black Flag and the train from Syndicate, the closest example they could give was the homestead from Assassin's Creed 3, although they do quote it as being basic. So they obviously know that they could have done more. At least that's what I'm inferring. And it seems like we're going to get that with the settlement. So the gentleman they were interviewing, and I'm going to butcher this name, I'm so sorry, La Ferrière, I don't know how to say it. Please don't hate me. I'm trying. He described the settlements as a place of importance in Valhalla, reminiscent of Skyhold and the Normandy. Now, those are two pretty big things, because if y'all remember the Normandy, I assume, you know, the Normandy's referring to Mass Effect. That's a place where you come back to. That's where you set out to all your missions. That's where your crew is. That's where your, you know, side quests are. That's where everything you kind of collect and find resides. And that's what they're saying here. As you grow your village, new buildings will be available to customize and upgrade, such as a barracks, blacksmith, and tattoo parlor. Now, that makes me go back and think of think of the villa from Monteregione in Assassin's Creed, I believe it was 2. You do all the things, you earn all the money, you upgrade, you can build your blacksmith, you can build, you know, your tailor, and there were different things you got from that, and that was a way to generate currency. Now, I'm not saying this is how you're gonna generate currency in Valhalla, but that's just what it reminds me of. So that's really cool. So far what we've got is we've got dual wields, we've got shield, we've got a customizable protagonist you'll be able to choose the gender of. We've got a hub area where you'll stem out from your quests. They later go on to say in the article that Vikings were natural explorers and they want players to be able to feel that. So if you see a distraction in the distance, that means there's something there, and they want you to naturally want to go and look into it, which is a little bit more encouraging. They want to reward players for going out of their way and finding things, which is great because I'm currently playing Odyssey on stream. By the way, link in the description box below. We play Assassin's Creed Odyssey right now every Thursday over on Twitch at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But from what I've been hearing from friends of mine, from people in my community, is that Odyssey, much like Origins, it kind of just feels like, oh, it's a whole big empty space. There's stuff in it, but, you know, it's like, go kill a bandit camp, you know, go raid a cave, things of that nature. So it seems like they really want people to go out and explore. Then they started talking about who we're presuming is the villain, at least from the trailer, King Alfred, because this game is going to take place, it's going to start off, they're going to show Norway, Scandinavia, but it's mainly going to take place in England, because that's just the time period. So in the trailer, we see King Alfred kind of playing the villainous role, but they said there's going to be a lot more to him. There's going to be a lot of nuance to him as a character. So he's not just going to be, you know, the bad guy that we have to go out and slay at the end. So that's really cool. I like that they're kind of giving us a villain, so to speak, and then going from there. Because in Origins, at least, it was like a council. You know, you had to go kill the council, and that was it. You didn't have like the top of the council. And then towards the end of the game, you had more of a centralized person to chase. That was one of the things about Assassin's Creed that I really loved, is having a villain, almost that linear narrative, so to speak. It's like, okay, this is the bad guy. Now let's work our way to this bad guy. I'm sure they're going to do something like that in here, but I feel the past couple of entries that they've kind of stepped away from that, and that's just a personal preference of mine. So hopefully, King Alfred is going to be connected to the big bad if he's not the big bad, and I'm really excited to see what he does. So other than that, in part of the trailer, Ivor screams that Odin is with us. This is something that they're going to talk about. They're going to kind of play the mythological thing as close to the reality of the Viking culture as they can, and the Vikings believed that their gods walked among them in everyday life, so they said they really want to play to that mythological aspect like that. They wanted to stay true to the culture as much as they can, so that's going to be really interesting. Also, the raven that's shown in the trailer, they said this, yes, is going to be your animal companion, much like Senju from Origins and Icaros from Odyssey. So we're going to have a raven. They said there's going to be a little bit more to him in terms of mechanics, so that's really going to be neat. They're probably going to flesh that out a little bit more. They were quoted in saying, "We have a bunch of new abilities for the Raven. We used it as a reason to re-explore the way players can explore the world, so it's less reliant on the UI. If you notice a distraction somewhere," this is what I was mentioning before, "it's probably because there's some content there." End quote. Quote, "We want to make a world that rewards players for their curiosity. It links in with the Vikings being great explorers, so the world is meant to be meaningful." End quote. So that was going back to what I said earlier in the video about them wanting you to explore. They go on to finish up the article by saying they want players to have the Viking fantasy. They want us to, you know, feel like these conquering heroes, you know, these mercenaries, these honestly killers at sometimes. That's another point they mentioned earlier in the article, is they ask, oh, so King Alfred's the bad guy, and that's when they said no. The Brits aren't necessarily all the bad guys. The Vikings aren't necessarily all the good guys. There's going to be kind of layers to this because it's not all just black and white. So I think that's really cool. They were asked if this game is going to have any co-op play like Assassin's Creed Unity, and Ubisoft said no, Valhalla is a single-player game. It has online components, and, quote, "We're encouraging players to share their progress and creativity," end quote. So maybe there's going to be like a mission builder like Odyssey, maybe picture sharing, kind of like Syndicate through the past couple of games. They said the present day story is going to be back, and it is playable. They can confirm that. They didn't go into too much detail about that. And then they finish up the article by saying that for more than 2.5 years, Valhalla has been in development by the Origins team at Ubisoft Montreal, and it has been led by Ashraf Ismail, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, please forgive me, creative director of series standouts like Origins and Black Flag. And it's had 14 other studios worldwide helping them on the project. They've designed it from scratch to release on PC, the PS5, and the Xbox Series X later this year, along with versions for the PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia. Everything being said, there's a lot of stuff here, and none of that was shown in the trailer. So this article is, I feel, very important for fans, because we were having a discussion of this early on today, that they didn't really tell us everything. So that everyone was kind of like, oh, I'm going to wait and see. Cinematic trailers are kind of hit or miss. Well, this is the article to give you more of an idea of what's going to be in the game, how the game is essentially going to be formatted, I'm excited for the game. However, I did tell my friends that one of the things that I have felt personally, and I'm still very early in Odyssey, so this may change, but at least with Origins, is I felt a little bit of that Assassin's Creed magic has kind of slipped away. And to me, that magic is the more linear narrative, so to speak, and less of the big open world RPG. It's honestly a problem I have with the industry as a whole, is that the flavor of the industry, so to speak, is big open worlds, not necessarily RPGs. I know Assassin's Creed has always had open worlds, but I feel like things are getting too big and they're kind of getting watered down with just things to dot your map, instead of having meaningful content, or instead of having reasons to go and do things. I also feel like the present day story, which apparently picks up in Odyssey, I haven't seen it yet, that's a big component of the Assassin's Creed like lore and games that I feel has kind of fell away to the wayside, honestly, since the death of Desmond Miles in Assassin's Creed 3. So hopefully this kind of picks things back up. Will Valhalla be the Assassin's Creed to rise, and be the next best game? It's way too early to tell. I'm not going to say that. Am I excited to be a Viking and just swing 2 axes? Oh, and a hidden blade, because that showed up with no spear. Or no, this Viking, Ivor, had a hidden blade on the top of his gauntlet and he stabs a dude in the trailer. It was really hype. Will it break all my expectations? Honestly, I'm not setting a lot of expectations. I'm excited to see what Ubisoft has to bring us, and I'm excited to get around to playing it eventually. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it informative. Again, the link for the Eurogamer article is in the description down below if you guys want to read it in full detail. And as always, remember to lift, feast, and game, and don't forget that there's nothing wrong with being average. I'll see you guys next time.